Good evening. Welcome to NTD News. I'm Paul Graney. Here are today's top stories. A record number of encounters at the southern border for the month of November. To deal with this surge in illegal immigrants, Texas is starting construction on its own border wall. And the missing Chinese tennis player re-emerges in a video interview. And she pulls back her assault allegation that sparked international outcry. Kim Potter's fate is now in the hands of the jury. Attorneys gave their closing arguments today. Now jurors will have to decide if the former Minnesota police officer is guilty of manslaughter. Former President Trump sues the New York Attorney General. He wants the Attorney General to stop her investigation into his company, the Trump Organization. And an elderly woman in Ohio is robbed of her purse, but a man helps her get it back. Now he's been awarded for the daring takedown and citizen's arrest, all caught on surveillance video. Border agents continue to deal with the surge in illegal immigrants at the southern border. They had over 173,000 border encounters last month. That's the highest for the month of November in the nation's history. NTD's Allison Lee has the details.
According to Customs and Border Protection, border agents had close to 174,000 encounters at the southern border in November. That's an increase of almost 9,000, representing a jump of about 5.4%. The figure also set a new record for the month of November. In comparison, last November saw only 72,000 encounters. The level this November is on par with the peak of the migrant crisis this past March. Single adults continued to make up the majority of the encounters, but November saw a rise in family units and unaccompanied minors. Family units jumped 5% from October, and illegal immigrant minors jumped 9% from October. Chris Magnus, the newly confirmed CBP commissioner, said in a statement that the update on the border situation reflects an incredible amount of work on behalf of the American people to keep dangerous drugs and products out of our communities, to facilitate travel and billions of dollars in trade, and to maintain security along our borders. Illegal immigration typically follows a seasonal pattern. It peaks in May and declines for the rest of the year before starting to pick up back again in January of the following year. Allison Lee, NTD News.
And Texas kicked off construction of its border wall over the weekend, just 6 months after Governor Greg Abbott first unveiled the plan. As part of the state's efforts to curb illegal immigration at the southern border. Here are the details.
Texas is building the first section of its own border wall. Governor Greg Abbott officially launched the construction project at a Saturday press conference in front of a segment of the wall.
Texas is taking what truly is unprecedented action by any state ever for a state to build a wall on our border to secure and safeguard the sovereignty of the United States as well as our own state.
Stretching 7 miles in the city of Rio Grande, the barrier is part of an effort to stop illegal entry along the southern border. The Trump administration had started building a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico, but President Biden canceled that project after taking office. Abbott criticized Biden for failing to address the border crisis.
This unprecedented action is needed for one single reason, and that's because the Biden administration has failed to do its job as required by the Constitution, as required by laws passed by Congress, to enforce the immigration laws of the United States of America.
In June, Abbott unveiled a plan for a state-funded border wall. He pledged $250 million as a down payment. The project has so far received over $54 million in private donations. That's in addition to $1.8 billion in state funding for border security, which includes money for building walls, barriers, and temporary fences. The governor later issued a statement calling the wall's debut a major milestone in efforts to combat illegal immigration, stop the smuggling of drugs and people, and keep communities safe. Immigration enforcement is one of Abbott's top agenda items as he seeks re-election next year.
And the State Department today appointed a new special coordinator for Tibetan issues. The appointee also serves as the State Department's Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy, and Human Rights.
Special Coordinator Zaya will coordinate U.S. efforts to advance the human rights of Tibetans, including freedom of religion or belief, increase access to the region, protect the environment and sustainably manage water resources of the Tibetan Plateau, and address the humanitarian needs of Tibetan refugees and Tibetan diaspora communities, many of whom continue to face threats, including in the United States.
Uzra Zaya will also work to promote substantive dialogue between the Chinese regime and the Dalai Lama. He's Tibet's spiritual leader in exile. The State Department says Zaya will work closely with Tibetan cultural, religious, and political leaders, along with the U.S. Congress, international allies and partners, and civil society representatives. The department also says this new designation demonstrates the administration's commitment to advance the human rights of Tibetans, help them preserve their distinct heritage, and address their humanitarian needs, and meet environmental and water resource challenges of the Tibetan Plateau. And Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai is pulling back her statement, saying she never accused anyone of sexual assault. But many in the international community aren't buying it and continue to voice concern for her. NTD's Juliet Song has more on that.
A sexual assault allegation from one of China's biggest sports stars has been sparking international outcry. And now, after weeks of being among the missing, tennis star Peng Shuai re-emerged in a video interview with pro-Beijing newspaper Lianhe Zaobao. In it, Peng walks back on her statement.
I have never said or written that anyone sexually assaulted me. This point must be emphasized very clearly.
She goes on to call the social media post she made earlier a private matter and said there might be some misunderstandings surrounding it. Peng is referring to the social media post she shared last month, where she accused a former Communist Party official of sexually assaulting her. Beijing was quick to censor Peng. Her post was removed from the internet within 20 minutes, and all related discussion was blocked from Chinese social media platforms. Peng herself also disappeared from public view. Outside China, people started to worry about her safety. The Women's Tennis Association, or WTA, was among the first to express concerns about Peng's safety, followed by the White House.
We are deeply concerned by reports that Peng Shuai appears to be missing after accusing a former PRC senior official of sexual assault. We join in the calls for PRC authorities to provide independent and verifiable proof of her whereabouts and that she is safe.
Following the international unease, staffers from Chinese state-controlled media outlet posted video clips of Peng as proof that she's alive and well, but the WTA wasn't pacified. Responding to Beijing's censorship, the WTA suspended all of its tournaments inside China, a move that could cost the organization hundreds of millions of dollars. In a statement, the head of the association said, in good conscience, he doesn't see how he can ask WTA athletes to compete there when Peng Shuai is not allowed to communicate freely and has seemingly been pressured to contradict her allegation of sexual assault. As for Peng's latest appearance, the WTA says it does not ease their concerns about Peng's well-being, and that the WTA still demands a full, fair, and transparent investigation. Juliet Song, NTD News.
And former President Donald Trump is suing New York Attorney General Letitia James. It's over an investigation she's doing. For the past 2 years, James has been looking into the Trump Organization's business practices. Here are the details.
Trump filed the lawsuit on Monday in a U.S. District Court in Albany, New York. He's seeking an injunction to end the civil investigation. New York Attorney General Letitia James is looking at whether the Trump Organization misled banks or tax officials about the value of assets, inflating them to gain favorable loan terms or minimizing them to reap tax savings. 2 weeks ago, James asked to sit for a deposition on January 7th. Trump's lawyers wrote in the lawsuit, her mission is guided solely by political animus and a desire to harass, intimidate, and retaliate against a private citizen who she views as a political opponent. The Attorney General responded with a statement saying, "To be clear, neither Mr. Trump nor the Trump Organization get to dictate if and where they will answer for their actions. Our investigation will continue undeterred because no one is above the law, not even someone with the name Trump." As part of the investigation, James has asked the Trump Organization to provide documents and testimony from multiple witnesses regarding several specific properties and transactions. Last year, she forced one of Trump's sons, Trump Organization executive Eric Trump, to testify with a subpoena. The Attorney General also won a series of court rulings forcing Trump's company to turn over troves of records.
And nearly 24 House Democrats say they won't run for re-election next year. Another one made the same announcement today. Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy of Florida is the latest to say she won't be running. She's the co-chair of the Blue Dog Coalition, which describes itself as a caucus of centrist Democrats. In a video announcement, Murphy said her last few years in office have given her some of the most rewarding moments of her life, but she wants to spend more time with her family. Murphy said the time away from her children has been hard on them and on her. She's the 21st Democrat who plans on stepping down after next year. That's compared to 12 Republicans. And Senators Cory Booker and Elizabeth Warren have tested positive for the CCP virus. Both were vaccinated and received booster shots, with both senators sending out tweets saying they only have mild symptoms. They say the vaccine is the reason they only have mild symptoms, adding that everyone should get vaccinated and get their boosters too. It's unclear whether the senators contracted the Omicron variant or some other strain of the virus. But on Friday, Southwest Airlines said its chief executive tested positive for the virus after appearing at a Senate Commerce hearing. He attended alongside other airline industry executives too. Southwest said the executive is vaccinated and recovering at home, and Warren and Booker are not members of the Commerce Committee. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan also tested positive for COVID-19. Got the result today after taking a rapid test as part of his morning routine. He did say he was both fully vaccinated and boosted, said he's feeling fine at the moment, and is urging others to get the vaccine or booster shots as soon as possible. And Virginia's largest public school system wants to participate in the CDC's Test to Stay pilot program. Its goal is to prevent excessive quarantine times for students who had exposure to the CCP virus. And NTD's Chenny Wu has the details.
According to WTOP, Virginia's Fairfax County Public School System has requested participation in the Test to Stay program. The CDC announced the program last week. It allows students who have been in close contact with positive COVID cases to continue in-person classes if they test negative twice a week. That's in contrast to current CDC guidance, which requires a 10-day at-home quarantine. WTOP says Virginia state health officials expect that Test to Stay will help limit the disruption to schools. They say the program would benefit unvaccinated students the most, since fully vaccinated students currently don't need to quarantine after exposure unless they're experiencing symptoms. Details of the program are still being finalized, but according to the CDC, COVID infections didn't increase when Test to Stay was used in Los Angeles and Chicago schools. Chenny Wu, NTD News.
The CDC and the U.S. State Department are urging Americans to avoid traveling to 8 destinations over COVID-19 cases. They include Spain, Finland, Chad, and Lebanon. These places are now on the level 4 do not travel list. It's the highest level. And the jury began deliberation on former Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes' 3-month trial. They'll now decide whether her blood testing company is a fraud. Holmes is charged with 11 counts of fraud and conspiracy. Monday marks the start of a full day of deliberations, and the jurors have to review evidence and testimony from 32 witnesses, including Holmes herself, and more than 900 exhibits. Holmes claimed that her technology could scan for hundreds of health problems with just a few drops of blood from a finger prick, instead of sticking a needle in a vein. If convicted on all counts, the 37-year-old could face up to 20 years in prison. And both sides make their closing arguments in the Kim Potter trial. The former Minnesota police officer's fate is now in the hands of the jury. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
Prosecutor Erin Eldridge began her closing argument by noting that Kim Potter's sons will be home for the holidays, but Dante Wright won't. She went on to emphasize that Potter carried a loaded gun on her right side for 26 years.
That's the weapon she drew, that's the weapon she pointed, and that's the weapon she fired. Members of the jury, that's culpable negligence, and that's reckless handling of a firearm, resulting in death.
Potter's attorney, Earl Gray, said things would have been different if Wright cooperated with the police officers.
Did they prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she caused this death? No. Dante Wright caused his own death, unfortunately. But those are the cold, hard facts, the evidence.
Now, members of the jury, this case is in your hands as judges of the facts. I am certain you realize this case is important and serious and therefore deserves your careful consideration. We will await your verdict.
The jury began deliberating the case shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Potter could face just over 7 years in prison if convicted of first-degree manslaughter and 4 years for second-degree manslaughter. Prosecutors have said they plan to push for longer sentences. Jason Perry, NTD News.
And the elderly are frequently the victims of financial fraud. The FBI says criminals take advantage of the often trusting and polite nature of our seniors. But other older Americans are just robbed in the open. Fortunately for seniors like Pat Goins from Ohio, the neighborhood's got their back.
Deshaun Presley on the right and 87-year-old Pat Goins on the left say they'll stay in touch.
And we've got a dinner date.
And we got a dinner. All right. Yeah.
This friendship is the product of Presley's daring takedown of a man who snatched the elderly woman's purse on December 5th. You can see Presley here running out of a Kroger supermarket, catching the runner, then holding him down. The Ohio father explains what happened moments before he left the store.
Actually, it's like before the guy came in, Miss P was having a conversation. She see my lovely daughter.
Yes.
I have a 1-year-old, and we had a conversation. And when we split, I guess the guy came 5 minutes behind us, and not even 10 minutes, the guy had grabbed her purse, and I heard her screaming and yelling, and it wasn't no type of yell. It was the yell that I need help. And I just turned around and did what I had to do as a citizen.
The Butler County Sheriff awarded the father with a Citizens Award for executing what he called a citizen's arrest. Derek Vaughn is accused of snatching Goins' purse. Fox 19 reports that the elderly woman considers Presley her hero. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
What a takedown. And we usually give you dense political news from Washington, D.C., but Congress is on a break. So today we're bringing you a joyful story from our nation's capital filled with holiday spirit. Christmas decorations usually call for long hours of hard work, but the display we're about to show you took the whole year to complete. NTD's Melina Wisecup takes us there to find out why.
Just steps from the nation's Capitol building, a hidden treasure in the Botanic Garden. A unique design bringing holiday joy this season.
This is pretty cool for him. There's like so much to see and do, and like now he's like pointing at things, so that's pretty fun. He definitely loves the Thomas right back there. He stood there for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, kids, you see the kids' faces. They're just, mouths are hanging open, you know, it's great.
Tiny trains, tiny farms, and tiny houses. It's a whole world in itself to explore. Many are impressed with the intricate designs, which took an entire year to craft.
A labor of love. Somebody really spent a lot of time because there's so much craftsmanship. The work was done with each setting, and then all the woodwork around it and all the plants is pretty impressive.
And weaving through each mini farm, layer upon layer of these miniature trains take their routes, delivering food from all around the world.
And the level of detail is just astonishing, and it's just magical. And I love how they have different areas of the world represented.
So we've got everything from onion farms in Mexico, cranberry bogs in the United States, rice and lentils from Nepal. So it's a great display.
And what's even more impressive is every little piece of the design, all the way down to the farmhouses, is made out of plants. The tractors and greenhouses all made from basic seeds, twigs, cinnamon sticks, and more. The farm theme is different from the traditional Christmas lights spectacle, and it's still a great family holiday bonding adventure.
Beautiful place to be. Bring your family, bring the kids. I mean, it actually makes me really happy to see the kids enjoying the displays.
If you're traveling through DC or passing through for the holidays, you won't be disappointed if you stop by. It's right beside all of DC's famous landmarks, and the display will be open until January 2nd. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
And up next, COVID is on the rise again in New York City. But the mayor says this time the city won't shut down because of it. And Chinese American veterans recognized for their service in World War II. Many of them are no longer with us, but relatives receive awards on their behalf. In New York City, both COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations are up, but Mayor Bill de Blasio says the city won't shut down. Here are the details.
As of December 18th, on a 7-day average, about 1.8 new COVID patients per 100,000 residents in New York City are admitted to a hospital every day. That's 3 times more than just a month ago, a sharp increase. But as you can see here, it's not nearly as high as it used to be. The mayor attributes that to the vaccine. He says vaccines are the reason the city won't have to shut down again.
Vaccination equals freedom. You get vaccinated, you have more personal opportunities. You get vaccinated, your whole neighborhood, your whole city can do more.
The case number is also going up, as you can see here. The 7-day average is around 7,000 per day. But the city is also testing much more now.
We are now testing, in fact, more people than ever. 130,000 plus daily in the city sites. That is double the number of tests just 3 weeks ago.
The demand for testing is creating problems in New York City. Long lines of people waiting out in the cold can be seen. And also on Monday, the giant 2022 sign for the New Year's Eve ball drop arrived at Times Square.
I had no idea that this was happening, so I was just like, oh my goodness, I could take a picture with the numerals before it goes up there, so I actually get like a nice close-up picture. I get selfies with it. It's just something that makes me really proud to be a New Yorker.
Although the mayor says the city will not shut down, he announced that changes to this year's ball drop might be made later this week.
We're going to be ready to pivot, and the mayor has promised a decision by Christmas.
The mayor hasn't indicated exactly what those changes might be.
And Chinese Americans who served in the U.S. military during World War II are being recognized for their service in the world's deadliest war. They're now receiving Congress's most prestigious civilian award, the Congressional Gold Medal. NTD's Jason Perry attended the ceremony.
I'm here at Dr. Sun Yat-sen Middle School in Manhattan, where many Chinese American veterans were recognized for their service in World War II. Many of them are no longer with us, and some of them had children and grandchildren that came to receive their congressional medals. In 2016, the Chinese American Citizens Alliance began working with legislators who later passed the Chinese American World War II Veterans Congressional Gold Medal Act. It was signed into law in 2018. The law allows Chinese Americans who served in World War II to receive the Congressional Gold Medal. Congressman Lee Zeldin, who voted for the bill, described what fighting in the war was like for many of the young Chinese Americans.
Grew up very fast in places very far away. Saw danger in ways that they had never been anywhere close to experiencing or having thought about.
Ken Han received the Congressional Gold Medal on behalf of his uncle, who was killed in World War II.
And he was sent out in Cisterna with a grouping of 5 to check out a point, and they were ambushed by Nazi Germans, and this is where we're at right now.
Retired Major General Bill Chen was the first Chinese American to become a 2-star general.
So
On one hand, the recognition for this is late. However, it is still significant.
Others at the event shared stories of their relatives, including Kelly Bitt, who accepted medals on behalf of her grandfather and great-grandfather.
So my grandfather served in the Flying Tigers, and so he was based in China.
He and my uncle also fought in the war, too. Together, they were in the same division, and they were deployed into Normandy invasion. And one of the few stories he told me was he was crossing the bridge as they were kind of marching toward a certain area. The bridge blew up and then left my uncle behind.
Before we left for the day, Luke Gong offered to show us pictures of his relative who served in World War II.
My grandfather, tank mechanic.
Although many of the Chinese-American World War II veterans could not be here today to receive their congressional medals, many of their family members who were here are proud of their service to the United States military. Jason Perry, NTD News, New York.
And the New York Mets have hired three-time Manager of the Year Buck Showalter to lead the club as the team continues to win the offseason. NTD's Dave Martin has more.
Buck Showalter's hiring brings instant credibility to the Mets, as the well-respected manager has been known for turning around even the most dire of situations. This continues a successful offseason for the Mets, who already signed three-time Cy Young winner Max Scherzer. The decision to get Showalter was met with near-universal praise by many around the game. He will be accountable, and so will his players. I saw him work magic in Baltimore, tweeted Hall of Fame pitcher Jim Palmer. Baltimore, which is the last of 4 stops by Showalter, hadn't had a winning season in 13 years when he arrived in 2010. Just 2 years later, they won 93 games and made the playoffs, one of 3 postseason appearances he led them to. The years I did the Yankee Manager's Report with Buck on the radio were a master's class in baseball, tweeted Yankees play-by-play announcer Michael Kay. Showalter started his career with the Yankees back in 1992, after 3 straight losing seasons and amidst an 11-year playoff drought. Showalter had 3 winning seasons in 4 years, but was forced out by former Mercurial owner George Steinbrenner after a playoff loss in 1995. With Showalter and Scherzer in the fold, the Mets should not only be contenders in the East, but will be an attractive option for other free agents still remaining. Dave Martin, NTD News, New York.
And coming up, a Macy's security guard was physically assaulted while trying to stop a robbery over the weekend. A teenage subject escaped after someone interfered with the arrest. And a California company is donating $75,000 to fund a police department. The money will help buy drones to fight crime. That and more coming up on NTD News.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all of your support. At MyPillow, we not only have pillows, but we have hundreds of products, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We're offering the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have this exclusive offer on the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. We also have the queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now only $24.98 with your promo code. And we have the king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer.
The ongoing supply chain crisis? Big tech and other woke companies giving billions to the liberal left? Where will you shop for Christmas? Go to Mammoth Nation. We created a safe place for patriots to spend their money for Christmas and beyond. Shop thousands of products from American and veteran-owned businesses. Shop to the right, give to the right. This is how we fight tyranny. Go to mammothnation.com right now and become a lifetime member today. Use promo code EPIC and save 30%.
You are not just watching a performance. You are witnessing a culture reborn, Now, you'll see what the modern world has never seen. China, before communism. Shen Yun 2021, live on stage. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
In a recent California robbery, a security guard tried to arrest a subject, but was physically assaulted in return. A suspect got away after a woman interfered. NTD's David Lam reports.
Police responded to a smash-and-grab burglary in San Jose on December 18th. A group of up to 15 male and female suspects were shoplifting and attempted to flee. 2 loss prevention officers at Macy's tried to arrest one of the suspects. I'm here at the Westfield Oak Ridge Mall right in front of the Macy's where the incident happened on Saturday. Now, a few locals told me even though situations could be dangerous sometimes, they think guards and police officers should respond effectively, otherwise the crimes could keep happening over and over again. But the perpetrators attacked one of the guards, pulling her hair, knocking her to the ground, and kicking her in the head. One person who couldn't go on camera said robberies happen all the time. Another person shares his concerns with us.
It's a thing that should not happen, and it's the strong preying on the weak. When we don't have policemen in our stores, it's just easy for them to come in and hurt other people and take what they want. It's a shame that society is like that now, but you know, it happens. We don't like it, but it's not worth someone else getting hurt to try and stop that.
When police arrived, they were handcuffing the suspect, but a 43-year-old woman outside the store approached the officers. As seen in this clip, the officer ordered her to stay back. When she refused, the officer threw her down and initiated an arrest of the lady for interfering. The woman reportedly thought the officer was too brutal on the suspect. The robbery suspect was able to flee and has not yet been located. The woman was booked into county jail on several charges, including interfering with an arrest. David Lam, NTD News, California.
And a company in California is donating $75,000 to help a police department buy drones. The CEO says he hopes to help increase safety in his city. Here's NTD's Eiling Ang with more.
California Waste Solutions is donating $75,000 to the Oakland Police Department. The check is made to the Oakland Chinatown Improvement Council to buy drones for the police.
They feel that with this we help them to fight against crime and also bring crime down. And of course, this is one of the resources that they need to be able to keep our city safe. There are many other resources, and we look forward to future of anything that we be able to be helped with City of Oakland and the police department.
Duong said the family-run company started in Oakland, so they want to do their part to keep Oakland safe.
This is something that we looking to do it in the last 14, 16 months to help Oakland now. We don't know what to do. And now there's an opportunity, and that's why we jump on it right away.
Duong has a friend who is a victim of one of the many Oakland crimes.
That's a friend of mine long time that he just get robbed of his wallet, watch, right in Chinatown, Oakland. I feel bad for all those. It's bad what is happening right now while, everybody, community is still, struggle trying to get their life back to normal and their business back to normal.
In a July press conference, Mayor Libby Schaaf said she intends to reverse the funding cuts for the police after a spike in crime. In November, Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong pleaded for help after a violent weekend. He said there were not enough police resources. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
And a California city is proposing a policy that would regulate how property is sold and bought in the city. Officials say the new laws would create more affordable housing, but local homeowners disagree. Here's NTD's Cynthia Kai with the details.
East Palo Alto's City Council is trying to pass an ordinance that would establish an Opportunity to Purchase Act. The City Council is set for a second hearing of the ordinance this Wednesday. City staff say the ordinance will create more affordable housing units for lower-income residents and will not impact homeowners' ability to sell their properties.
And the ordinance does not prevent the property owner from seeking offers on the open market or selling their property at market value. With some of the changes that we recommend as staff, which Victor will go over.
City council members did not respond to requests for a comment by airtime. However, some locals held a rally on Sunday to express their disagreement.
OPA kills housing.
The impact is that it will manipulate the market and cause property values to decline because it's an arduous and lengthy process that can draw out the sales cycle for up to, I believe it's 280 days.
Such a law would give nonprofits and the city the right of first offer to purchase residential properties before they go on the market. Others say the proposed legislation reminds them of communism.
Because it says you are rich, you own the house, so you have a crime, right? This is just like the Communist Party says all the landlord has crime, right? So they just to get all the land from the landlord and distribute it among everybody, right? What's the difference?
According to the ordinance, owner-occupied properties with 3 or fewer units would be exempt from OPA regulations.
OPA is against our property right that American Constitution grants us. Basically, the city have determines who and when and how we are going to sell the property.
The ordinance is one way the city plans to fulfill its affordable housing goals outlined in the Affordable Housing Strategy adopted in October 2018.
We are divided. There are a bunch of people that are for it, and a bunch of people that are against it. But in any case, my main concern is it needs a lot further study before we actually create an ordinance that is supposedly enforceable.
If the ordinance is approved, East Palo Alto would join San Francisco and Washington, D.C., both of which have their own versions of an OPA law. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
And Disney and YouTube TV cut a deal after a long negotiation period. The deal will bring back several well-known Disney-owned channels to YouTube TV. The negotiations between YouTube and Disney have gone on for several months. The previous deal expired on December 17th, the same day as the start of the college football season. At the end of the contract, YouTube had to drop Disney-owned channels like ESPN and ABC. But after Sunday's distribution agreement with Disney, YouTube has restored access to channels such as ESPN and FX. According to Reuters, YouTube warned that it would only renew its agreement with Disney if the company offered, quote, equitable terms. YouTube claimed to Disney last week that a monthly subscription should be $49.99, which is lower than the negotiated price. But the deal has been settled, which is more beneficial to Disney. Now the YouTube subscription has returned to $64.99. According to Disney's Twitter, Disney appreciates Google's collaboration to reach fair terms. And for one of the world's richest men, Elon Musk has reportedly paid relatively little in taxes. ProPublica says he paid no federal income taxes in 2018, but for 2021, he says he's paying a massive amount, possibly the most in American history. NTD's Olin Richards has more.
On Sunday night, Elon Musk tweeted, "For those wondering, I will pay over $11 billion in taxes this year." Nicholas Creel, a professor of business law at Georgia College and State University, says this could be the biggest tax bill in American history. Creel says Musk is paying it because he sold stock.
So he could buy more stock. Almost all of Elon Musk's money, almost all of it, is tied up in Tesla stock. And so if he wants to be able to go exercise some of those stock options he has as CEO, the only way to have the cash to do that is to sell stock he has on hand. So it puts him in this very weird situation that the only way to get stock is to sell stock first. And that, of course, comes with a pretty massive tax bill.
Stock options give a person the right to buy stock at an agreed-upon price. Armini Allegation is the founder of Allegation Group. Allegation says when Musk exercises those options, it's considered income, and he must pay taxes on them.
Let's say you're given options at $1 and the current price is $10, and you want to have to exercise them. So your exercise is for $9, and let's say you have just one option. So that $9 will be taxable income for you. It will be reported on your W-2 as wages.
Forbes says Musk is the world's richest man, worth around $237 billion. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And Australian police say that a sixth child has died from a bouncy castle accident at a school party. 11-year-old Chase Harrison passed away in the hospital on Sunday after his life support machine was switched off. An investigation is being conducted into how a gust of wind managed to blow the bouncy castle 30 feet into the air during a party at Hillcrest Primary School. Tasmania police say that 9 children were seriously injured. Tragically, 6 of them have now passed away. 2 are still hospitalized in critical condition, and 1 is recovering at home. And still to come, 4 people are killed and 8 injured when a bridge collapses in northern China. Early reports say the incident happened as a 220-ton truck attempted to drive across it. And Beijing is asking German car part giant Continental to cut its ties with Lithuania. Up to a dozen German companies are experiencing economic coercion from China. That and more coming up on NTD News. At least 4 dead and 8 others injured after a section of freeway collapsed in northern Chinese province. The section stretches 1,600 feet. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more.
A section of a highway bridge collapsed Saturday in China's Hebei province, killing 4 and injuring 8. The portion that collapsed stretched 1,600 feet. The bridge connects 2 freeways in Ezhou City. According to Chinese state-owned media China Daily, the bridge tipped over when a truck weighing nearly 220 U.S. tons drove over it. If that figure is accurate, it means the truck weighs more than the Statue of Liberty. 3 other vehicles were also on the section of the bridge when it collapsed, and 1 car was crushed under the bridge. Traffic was closed due to the accident, and a team made up of firefighters, police officers, and medical personnel was sent to rescue. The incident is gaining attention on Chinese social media. On Weibo, a relevant hashtag racked up over 11 million views. Beijing is pressing multinational companies to cut their ties with Lithuania. That's amid a dispute between China and the Baltic state over Taiwan. Communist China claims self-governed Taiwan as its territory. It downgraded diplomatic relations with Lithuania last month after Taiwan opened a representative office there. Reuters reports that Beijing's target now is German car parts giant Continental. The Chinese regime is urging the company to stop using components made in Lithuania. Continental is one of the biggest car parts makers in the world. It supplies all of Germany's big car makers and has production sites in Lithuania. Continental refused to comment, and Beijing denied the allegation that it had pressured the company. The Chinese regime has pressured countries to downgrade or sever their relations with Taiwan. According to German industry sources, Continental is not the only one. Up to a dozen companies, most of them in the automotive and agricultural sectors, also feel the pressure from Beijing. According to a researcher from Washington-based think tank, the Center for a New American Security, China's economic coercion is different from that of democracies. That is, Beijing doesn't need to invoke any laws to justify its actions.
And Britain's Brexit Minister, Lord Frost, has resigned. He says he disagrees with the recent COVID restrictions and the so-called Plan B measures. He also had concerns over the government's current direction of travel. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss will be taking his place, and this report comes from NTD's Jane Worrell.
Lord Frost leaves and Liz Truss takes over. Truss will now be responsible for the UK's relationship with the EU while keeping her position as Foreign Secretary. It means she's the first Brexit negotiator who openly backed remaining in the EU, but changed her mind after the vote.
He's asked that people keep...
Truss isn't new to changing political camps. She was brought up by left-leaning parents and at university was president of the Liberal Democrats. Brexiteer Chris Heaton-Harris will fill in for her when she's not available.
Morning, everybody.
Lord Frost's resignation is the latest sign of discontent over Boris Johnson's leadership and COVID policies. Here's what he had to say about his decision to leave.
We have never disagreed in any way about Brexit policy. Right up to the last day, we've been absolutely aligned on that, and Liz Truss and Chris Heaton-Harris, I'm sure, are going to do a great job. I left the government because, as I think is well known, I couldn't support certain policies, most recently on COVID restrictions and Plan B. And if you're a minister, you have to support collective responsibility, you have to support decisions of the government, and I couldn't, so that's why I had to leave.
In his resignation letter, he wrote, "You took a brave decision in July against considerable opposition to open up the country again. Sadly, it did not prove to be irreversible as I wished, and I believe you did too. I hope we can get back on track soon and not be tempted by the kind of coercive measures we have seen elsewhere." He said he hoped for a lightly regulated, low-tax, entrepreneurial economy and wished the government success. Nicknamed Frosty the No Man, it said EU officials are relieved about his departure. This is another headache for Boris Johnson. It comes, of course, as the Conservatives lost their Shropshire by-election to the Lib Dems, and as many of his own MPs voted against his COVID restrictions. For Truss, this is another major role. She polls as the most popular cabinet minister among Conservative MPs, and some see her as having her sights on Downing Street. Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.
In France, the government is looking at different methods to ensure every person gets the vaccine. That includes making the country's health pass only available to the vaccinated. NTD's correspondent David Vives speaks to a lawyer who says this is a fundamental change in the rule of law.
The French Prime Minister said last Friday that the government will transform the health pass into a vaccine pass in a new bill. The pass will only be available to the vaccinated, meaning a negative COVID test or proof of recovery won't be enough to access public venues. The announcement comes as the country battles a fifth wave of infections and as the Omicron variant continues to spread rapidly. According to official data, France reported about 50,000 new daily COVID cases on average last week. But the Prime Minister's proposal is heavily criticized. French President Emmanuel Macron had said before that there will never be such a vaccine pass. According to lawyer Pierre Gentillet, this reversal in policy came step by step.
At first, the government said vaccination would be optional. Then vaccination is mandatory only when you travel. Then a negative test only lasts 1 day, etc. Now the government says its true objective, which is to vaccinate everybody. If the government pushed the vaccine from the start, millions of people would have protested the next day.
The health minister said in an interview on Saturday that making the vaccine pass mandatory for the workplace is a possibility. He also said this could be a way to force people to get the vaccine. Gentillet says the vaccine pass is not a health objective, but a political one. He says this measure denies people's fundamental freedom and marks a change in the rule of law.
So tomorrow you won't have a social life and you can't go to work if you're not vaccinated. You know, citizenship is a right, a territorial principle. Now it has become a vaccination principle. This is like a new society, a new world we're moving to.
This proposal, as well as a new bill, will be presented to the French Parliament. The government wants the bill to be implemented as soon as the beginning of next year. David Vives, NTD News.
And still to come. In Chicago, a holiday train returns this holiday season, delivering joy to riders to make new memories. And tourists and locals along the Mexico coast are treated to a special sight as humpback whales return to the area for winter. That and more coming up on NTD News.
You worked hard for your money. You invest in stability.
for your retirement and your family's future, to build and leave them with something greater. The next unprecedented financial crisis, political misstep, or unstable government can depreciate it all away. It was called the gold standard for a reason, the financial preservation of tomorrow. Diversify your assets against inflation, market volatility, and the unknown with real money. Hedge your wealth with the purest form of money, physical gold and silver. Because any currency printed on paper can be manipulated. What's backing up your IRA? Do what you need to do right now to be prepared with the Reagan Gold Group. Visit now, rggusakit.com, or call us at 866-912-1384. Receive up to $2,500 in free silver coins and a free safe with your new precious metals IRA. Call now.
Riding on the holiday train has been Chicagoans' tradition for almost 30 years. And after a suspension due to the pandemic, Chicagoans are delighted to see the holiday train running again this holiday season.
In 1992, the Chicago Transit Authority placed a sign reading "Season's Greetings from the CTA" in front of a train used to transport food for charity organizations. Ever since then, this humble origin has evolved into a more elaborate and festive annual holiday tradition for Chicagoans.
This is our first time on the holiday train. So it's very exciting, very exciting. It's awesome. This is a great. Look at this crew. They're amazing. I feel full of holiday cheer.
One rider who moved from Atlanta to Chicago recently said the train has plenty of holiday spirit.
I did my research to make sure that I could catch it because I'm going out of town before the holidays, so I wanted to jump on it and feel the holiday season, holiday spirit. I love it. I think it is great. It's a good experience. It's cool to ride around the city and see the sights of the city and still have that Christmas feeling. And I really like how it brings together friends and family and they all join in and celebrate the season on the train.
One rider speaks about her 7-year-old son's love for trains, especially riding in the holiday train.
He was sad that he didn't get to ride it last year. Yeah, that's why I heard about it all year long, because he didn't get to ride it. So now he's super excited that he got to ride it again.
When the train pulls into each station, the focal point is always on Santa Claus riding in his sleigh.
We wrote a letter to give to Santa so that Santa would be able to see what we had. He'd been waiting to give it to him all year. When we go back out, he's going to give his letter to Santa. So we asked and made sure it was okay, and they said yes. So he's going to give it to Santa when we get to our stop.
The holiday train will run through December 22nd. It will not only deliver joy to the riders, but also will keep creating memories for years to come.
And humpback whales have made their way back to the Oaxacan coasts in Mexico as tourists and locals marveled at their presence. Let's take a look.
Boats transported tourists to have a glimpse at the group of whales. One tour boat operator said that it's possible to see them within a nautical mile from the shore.
The sea was calm for many months without any human presence, and it had an effect on this. It gave them the security to come back to the shore. We've seen them.
Amazing. The whales are big and beautiful, and this is my first time seeing a whale. And today I came expecting to see one, but I saw like 20, so it's a good day.
Following government directions, these boats must keep a distance of between 25 and 37 miles from the whales. A biologist and researcher at Universidad del Mar who studies humpback whales said that only male whales emit the traditional songs of these animals.
In this case, the singers are the male whales. They sing songs that are just like human songs that have verses that repeat continuously. There are researchers whose studies focus on humpback whale songs, and they have discovered that each season a new verse is added to that song.
These animals migrate from North America towards Central America during December, reaching as far as Panama on the Pacific Ocean.
That's all for today's news. Thank you for tuning in. See you tomorrow night.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.